In this town, barbers disappear one by one. The barber goes to the king's palace and then disappears. Let's see what happens to them, the king and the young barber. In a distant country, a young man lived with his mother in their small, simple house. He would take his sheep to the pasture and play the flute, and the sheep would dance. Everyone who heard the young man play would dance as well. The country was ruled by a tyrannical king who would send his soldiers to search the village for a barber to shave the king. The soldiers would go and fetch the barber, then disappear into the king's palace. One day, the king ordered his soldiers to bring a new barber to the palace immediately. The soldiers went in search of him and took the young man to the king's palace. His mother was frightened, but there was nothing she could do but give him 3 pieces of bread. The young man took them and went with the soldiers to the king's palace. When the young man entered the king's presence, he was frightened. The king said, "Don't be afraid. You'll just shave me." The king descended from his throne, sat on the barber's chair, and took off his turban. The surprise was there. The king had a large horn on his head, hidden beneath his turban. The young man was amazed. Then he shaved the king, and as soon as he finished, the king told him to go to this box to take payment for shaving the king. The young man went to the box and looked at it, but what happened was a surprise. The king pushed him to fall into the box, which was just a door to the abyss, a large hole at the end of which was a river. The young man fell into the river, then woke up on the riverbank to find himself in the middle of many skulls and human bones of the people the king had killed in order to bury the secret of the king's century with them so that no one would ever know. Suddenly, something huge moves beneath the rubble, and the young man is frightened by what's happening. Suddenly, a huge snake appears before him, wanting to devour him. The young man remembers his flute, takes it out of his bag, and begins to play. The snake hears it and begins to dance. After the young man finishes playing, he gives the snake a piece of bread from his bag, which it devours. Fortunately, the snake calms down, and the young man asks him to lead it out of the hole. The snake agrees, and the young man stands by its advice. The snake then climbs with him until it reaches the exit of the hole, where the young man emerges. He walks through the forest until darkness falls. Suddenly, a huge animal appears, resembling a huge wolf, chasing the young man, trying to devour him. It climbs a tree, trying to escape. He thinks of playing the flute. When the wolf heard the music, he started to dance with joy. The young man finishes playing the flute and decides to give the wolf a piece of bread, which the wolf eats and is satisfied. After that, it carries the young man on its back to lead him out of the forest. The young man arrives outside the forest, standing in front of a house. Unfortunately for him, this house belongs to an evil witch. Seeing him in front of the house, she quickly puts on an enchanted coat that transforms her into a kind mother. When he knocks on the door, she opens it and asks him to come in immediately to be her guest. After the young man enters, she casts a spell on him, trapping him in the boiling pot so she can cook him and eat him. He asks her to play the flute one last time before he dies. The witch agrees to give him the flute to play, and the young man plays. The witch and the entire enchanted house dance together. He tries to escape, but the witch catches up with him. He decides to give her the last piece of bread to eat. She liked the bread and, fortunately for him, she gives him the enchanted coat as a gift. He puts it on and transforms into a little boy. Then he turns the coat inside out, transforming into an old man. The idea strikes him. Go to the king's palace to take revenge on the king. He goes to the palace and asks the guards to bring him in so he can shave the king. The soldiers take him inside the palace to the king and begin shaving the king. After he finishes shaving, the king tells him to go to the chest to receive his reward. The old man goes to the chest and is astonished, saying, "Oh my God, all this gold and treasures are mine." The king is astonished by what the old man has said and quickly goes to look inside the chest. The old man pushes him into the hole, causing the king to fall. However, he grabs the old man's beard, and the old man quickly removes the coat. He transforms back into a young man, his beard disappears, and the king falls into the abyss of the pit to meet his punishment. The guards enter when they hear the king's screams to search for him. They find no one in the room. The young man puts on the coat inside out and flees the palace disguised as a young child. As he leaves the palace, he takes off his coat and returns to his young form. He goes to his mother in the village, who is surprised to see him and runs to him, embracing her son. Goodness reigns throughout the land after the disappearance of the unjust king. I hope you enjoyed the story. Stay tuned for more to come, God willing.